Giants are the stuff of myths and legends, and have no basis in reality or fact. 20-foot-tall humans are perhaps common in children's fantasy novels, but they have never actually walked our planet. Or so we think. There are countless stories of giants from Norse, Indian, Aztec, Greek, and Mayan lore, and we can't completely rule out the possibility that they might have existed in our history. After all, there has been evidence. Welcome back to our channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at proof of the existence of giants in our history. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to us and hit the bell icon so you get notified anytime we upload a video. Number 10. Giants of Ecuador. After the heavy storms in 2019, a large female skull was uncovered in the Loja province of Ecuador. Scientists estimated it to be about 600 years old, and this find led to a search for the rest of the body. They eventually found the parts, and it was all assembled a few weeks later. The skeleton stood at a whopping 7 feet 4 inches tall, which is definitely unusual, as women back then were only about 5 foot 8. This discovery led to curiosity, and scientists revisited the site. They uncovered 5 more giant skeletons in the general area, all between 7 and 8 feet tall, and buried deep in elaborate graves. These may have been from different tribes due to the distance between them. They were found quite a distance apart from each other, so they may have been from 2 different tribes. Remains of a larger giant were discovered back in 1964 as well. A priest, Father Carlos Vaca, was called to examine some strange bones found in the mountain areas of Ecuador. Vaca determined the bones were human, despite being unusually large. These were later taken to Austrian researcher Klaus Dona, who examined the bones with a team of experts. They all concurred the bones were over 10,000 years old and belonged to a human, most likely over 25 feet tall. Number 9. New York Giants. No, not the football team, although they do have some pretty tall people in there too. What we're talking about is the Native American burial ground in New York, which was uncovered in 1871. The archaeological dig at the site unearthed 200 giant skeletons, some measuring up to 9 feet tall. The remains are estimated to be about 9,000 years old. At the time, these findings were widely reported in the media, but have since fizzled out. You're probably wondering how something as big as this could simply disappear. Well, stick around to the end to find out. Number 8. Lovelock Cave. From 2600 BC to the mid-1800s, Lovelock Cave in Nevada was rumored to be used by a race of red-haired cannibal giants. The first evidence of their existence was discovered when the place was excavated from 1912 to 1924, and 40 storage pits were found containing fishing gear, 15-inch long bark sandals, shell beads, and even a wooden grasshopper. About 20,000 artifacts may have been discovered, but the prize among them were the skeletons, standing at 8 to 10 feet in height. Unlike other giant races, scientists can pinpoint exactly why this race went extinct. Their unique eating habits made them wildly unpopular with the Paiute Indians living in the same area, which likely led to a long war between the 2 tribes. This probably forced the giants to retreat over and over again until the only place where they could hide was Lovelock Cave. Still, they continued to hunt and eat the Paiute until the tribe lit a bonfire at the mouth of the cave and killed the giants. The thick layers of bat guano in the cave also preserved relics dating back to 2600 BC. Before the scientists officially discovered the cave in 1911, the Paiute Indians who lived in the area had known about it. James Hart and David Pugh got the rights to dig and sell the guano, which was used as gunpowder in those times, and as they were searching, they came upon these giants. Even before that though, the remains of an 11-foot tall giant were found nearby in 1904. Number 7. Giant footprints. One of the most famous pieces of evidence you'll find of giants is located at Mpuluzi in South Africa. It was found 100 years ago by a hunter, and the locals call it the footprint of God, and it's 1.2 meters or 3 feet and 9 inches long. If we're to assume that the body is proportionate to the foot, which it should be, then that would make the giant about 24 to 27 feet tall. What's even more interesting is that the footprint is in granite, one of the hardest rocks on Earth. There are no marks of chiseling, meaning whatever stepped on the rock did so when it was still molten, and it retained the impression. The print could be anywhere from 200 million to 3 billion years old. If it's anywhere in the billions in age, that means this creature walked the earth at a time when there was only one microbial life. But if it's closer to 200 million, it couldn't be any human ancestor we know of. A real mystery. Around the world, similar such prints have been found. San Jose, for example, has an 8.2-foot footprint near a local ranch. In the same city, a 4.9-foot footprint was found on a cliff. Another finding was in China, the Guizhou province. This time, it was a series of footprints that they found indented nearly 3 centimeters into solid rock. Estimations show that whatever made the prints might have been over 13 feet tall, and knocking them all out of the park, another 4-foot-long print was uncovered in South Africa, dating over 200 million years old. Whatever made the print is believed to have been over 27 feet tall. Number 6. The Kentucky Dover Mound. The Dover Mound in Kentucky is another large Native American burial site. Within that, a 7-foot-tall skeleton of an Adena man was found. The Adena culture was a pre-Columbian Native American culture that existed from 800 BC to 180 in the early woodland period. What's of more interest was how disproportionate the skeleton was. Elongated head with an oddly long torso in relation to its legs. Similar remains were found in Ohio. Incredibly tall men with elongated heads and large torsos. Understandably, they were first thought to be aliens, but scientists on the case confirmed that they were very much human remains. Archaeologists continue to find similar remains in Native American burial grounds across the country. Number 5. Gigantopithecus blacki. This massive extinct animal was likely the size of a modern polar bear when it walked the earth, weighing about 1,000 pounds and standing at nearly 10 feet tall on its hind legs. It is one of the largest primates ever found, and we only know it by the plentiful teeth and a few jawbones we've seen. Fragments of these fossils were procured from China, and they are estimated to be 300,000 to 2 million years old. That's quite a range we're working with. More than 1,000 teeth have been found so far, and from them, scientists have concluded that the animal was more than 9 feet tall when standing on 2 legs, but that it most likely spent most of its time on all 4s. On a molecular level, its closest living relative today is the orangutan. The research suggests that Gigantopithecus split from the orangutan lineage around 12 million years ago. Though they are not human, there is still evidence of giant apes walking the earth. Number 4. Wisconsin giants. As reported in the New York Times on May 4, 1912, 18 skeletons were found, ranging from 7.6 to 10 feet tall, with their skulls much larger than any humans today. They had a double row of teeth, 6 fingers and toes, and came in different races just like humans. Above the eye sockets, their head sloped straight back, and the nasal bones protrude far above the cheekbones. The jaws are long and pointed, similar to a monkey's. This dig site at Lake Delvin was overseen by Beloit College and included 200 effigy mounds that are classic examples of woodland culture. There was some speculation that these findings were staged or fake, but this is only one of several other finds in the area. In 1891, scientists from the Smithsonian Institution discovered several large pyramid-like monuments in Wisconsin near Lake Mills. In 1897, 3 more such structures were found in Maple Creek, and they opened one. Inside, there was a skeleton of a man of incredible size, 9 feet to be exact. It was in a pretty good state of preservation, as were the rods of copper and a few other relics near the bones. Number 3. Bhima's Stove. Lord Bhima is one of the key characters in the Indian epic Mahabharata. His strong point throughout the epic is his unmatched strength and expertise with the mace. He was also pretty well known for his giant appetite. A giant appetite would need a giant oven, and Bhima's stove in Mahabalipuram is just that. Locals believe this stove was built by a giant over 12 feet tall, and given the structure, it doesn't seem impossible. The structure is said to be 12,000 years old. The boulder on the left weighs 1,700 tons and leans on a relatively smaller rock, and geologists have confirmed that this is not a natural formation at all. The rock is 47 feet long and 22 feet wide, making it pretty impossible for humans about 1,200 years ago to lift it and make this structure. The Indian epic may or may not be accurate, but it's certain that a giant constructed this. Number 2. A 38 centimeter long finger. Researchers in Egypt found a 38 centimeter long finger, which rendered them clueless. They stated that such a thing should be impossible, but X-ray images showed otherwise. The remains are pretty impressive. Some locals believe it may be from a giant over 5 meters or 16 feet in height. The owner of the finger was apparently a grave robber who refused to sell the artifact, and we can understand why. While researchers didn't end up getting their hands on the artifact for examining, it remains that this is one of the most significant pieces of evidence we have of giants walking the earth. Before we check out number 1, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button and comment below if you actually believe that giant humans walked the earth. Number 1. Ancient art. Sadly, ancient Egypt didn't use iPhones or cameras, so all we have to go by is their art to understand the times they lived in. Of course, back then, proportions of a body and the idea of perspective were quite vague, but we can't use that as a reason to discount it entirely. After all, medicine was well developed in ancient Egypt, and it isn't called the cradle of civilization for nothing. Some of these drawings of giant people are proof enough, and it would explain how the Egyptians built the pyramids. In fact, Egypt has been the site of a few giant skeleton uncoverings too. So why aren't there public displays of these giant skeletons anywhere in museums? Surely that's interesting enough to earn a place in the Natural History Museum. Well, it turns out skeletons of giants have been covered up by scientists, specifically ones in the Smithsonian. Apparently, they have been covering up and destroying tens of thousands of giant skeletons since the early 1900s. It was perhaps done to protect Darwin's theory of evolution and the established idea in books and people's minds. What do you think? How much do you think this changes the story around our evolution? If you enjoyed this video, check out our others over on our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.